everybody, and
How
welcome
you
to
doing?
Dice Jailers. I am Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and this week, as we go on our 2021 adventure of talking through all of the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition character classes, today is Bard Day, and we'll get
Yes,
in
it
more on
is.
that in a bit. But first and foremost, Bjorn, how you been, buddy?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, considering this week and all of that happened in the past week,
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Man, uh, 2021 is just saying the last year. Here, hold my beer.
Yeah,
But
it really is.
but whatever. No, work has actually been all right. There were some real schedule concerns that I thought I was going to have to drop out of a D&D game I've been playing in. I don't have to drop out, so that's awesome. So I can start
Wonderful.
playing Icewind Dale again next week. And yeah, other than that, been very low key with things. Oh, actually, I may be doing some radio play type shows. I had an audition for that last night.
That's
We'll see
pretty
how that
dope.
goes. More on that if I get cast, and if I don't, then only minimal news about that if they're willing to advertise for us too. How about you?
Uh, I've been doing a whole lot, getting set up to do my video classes and teach
Yeah,
those, and it's gonna be pretty great. It's gonna be super fun. Uh, Teaching through a video is still weird. It hasn't gotten easier. Uh, but like it's fine. It's great.
nice.
It's fine. It'll be fine.
No time.
But
What
yeah,
could possibly go wrong?
I've just really been doing that. Throwing a couple auditions out into the ether. Uh, and I've actually played less D&D like the last couple of weeks because a bunch of my games, like story-wise, we finished in December. So I've
Sure.
just kind of been like, cool, I'm just gonna play my video games and try and get my brain back. And by try and
Nice.
get my brain back, I mean start teaching classes again.
I mean, it's how it is.
Yeah, it's
But
this
that's a good thing to use
weird
the brain
yeah, it's just this weird like song and dance that we keep playing with ourselves with our schedule just like
for.
hey, we're
Speaking of
gonna
song and dance,
yeah, we're talking about Bard.
yes.
Dumb.
And
Dumbest
so
segue yet.
yeah, you know what? I'm for it. I'm so for it. Bards are bards are friggin' awesome in
Bards
fifth
are a
edition.
great class. They're also
Yeah,
one of the memeiest classes this side of like wizards.
I mean, but they always have been. Like that aspect of
Yeah.
bards has always been there. But let's be honest. In previous editions, bards have kind of sucked.
Oh yeah.
Like they have not been great. I remember back in a 3-5 campaign I played in for a while. We had a bard in the party, and literally all he was good for was the occasional spell and buffing my fighter.
Hmm.
That was it. That was it. He would just walk around behind my fighter, make sure he threw a buff on me, and I would wade into combat and do more awesomeness than normal. But otherwise, he couldn't do much. And I always thought the bard was kind of a lacking class.
Well, yeah, it's one of those classes that like in the past, it's been that class that like your most fun like person at the table is going to play,
Yes.
and they're playing it more because it's gonna be a fun character than it
Yeah.
is like statistically great. But now in
Right. Because
fifth edition, bards are also statistically fun.
they're monsters. Like,
Yeah,
bards have always been good for the role play aspect. But I mean, if you're anything like me, a campaign needs to be a good mix of role play and combat. Like there are a lot of combat mechanics, and combat is part of the game. And a class that totally sucks in combat isn't, to me at least, a lot of fun.
I mean, and it definitely depends on the game that you're running in,
Sure.
because there are DMs that they do just run like really story heavy games,
Yep.
and those are super fun when you've got a good DM. And
Yeah.
then the combat mechanics stuff doesn't really matter much because you're barely doing it. But if
Sure.
you have a
Sure.
game that's got a good balance of the two, or is even more combat heavy, like a lot of DMs like to do, uh, you're gonna be kind of bored in old editions as a bard. But this one,
Yeah.
it's got some
I
dope
mean,
stuff.
you are a full caster as a bard.
Mm-hmm.
You get the same progression of spells as a sorcerer or a cleric or a druid or a wizard. you are one of those classes that is truly great with magic.
Uh,
Now, I didn't do that last week, and there's a reason because you know I don't mix barbarians with magic.
that is true.
Like, and if
Yep.
other people who want to, I'm not going to yuck your yum. That's just how I roll. But I kicked it off with favorite last week, so I want to start with you. Like, if
So
we're going
so
with
with
archetype,
bards,
yeah,
yeah, with bards as a class, one of my favorite things about the bard as a class is the and this also brings in, my favorite, which is going to be flavor things.
mhm, of
But
course,
the versatility of the performance, as well as just the function of inspiration as
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing as a bard, it's the coolest thing about the bard as a class, and it's definitely my favorite thing about bards, because your inspiration can really be anything. And
And
it's
it
also,
can be game changing.
yeah, and numbers wise, it's a huge boost in combat, out of combat, just
Sure.
everywhere. And it's also fun to be just in the middle of combat, and then for some reason, because your wizard or your sorcerer or your druid does like a thunderclap, and then you inspire someone next round with, you start singing Thunderstruck to yourself, which we're not going to sing so that we can put this on YouTube.
Correct. Yes. Always thinking.
Yep, that. Yep. But yeah, it's like, that's personally for me is the most fun thing about playing a bard, is that, like, one, there's absolutely no two bards that are going to be the same.
No.
Even if everyone plays like the heavy seduce bard, you're still not going to seduce the same way, and you're probably not going to have the same performance. And even if you have the same like instrument or style of performance, your bards are still not going to be the same because of the songs that you pull from in your brain as a person.
Oh, precisely.
Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite thing about just like the bard as a class?
I honestly like it really comes in with the second level ability bards get jack of all trades. I love that about the bards. Specifically because like okay, so most people quote the the uh the phrase jack of all trades. Most people don't quote it correctly. People will say jack of all trades but master of none, and they stop there. But the rest of it is but still better than a master of one. It's saying it's better to be a jack of all trades. And this is what I love about the bards. If you suck at something, you're now actually good at it. And if you're good at something, you're amazing at it. And so I love the versatility so that even though you are a spellcaster, you have offensive spells, you have buffs, you have debuffs, you have some wonderfully unique spells, and you can do so much. And like you said, the inspiration is
Just so
such a
fun.
cool ability, and it can change a combat completely
Oh yeah.
sometimes. All of a sudden, one of your allies, you've given them inspiration, they get hit big by something, they just beef it on their saving throw, and they miss the saving throw by 6, but they have a D8 inspiration die. And
Hmm.
now the tension at the table becomes palpable as they roll that. And if a 7 comes up on that, the table explodes with joy. As a DM, you're a little miffed that your awesome spell didn't work, but you're happier at the reaction your players are having.
Yeah.
That's going to be a memorable moment for them. And I think the Bard really offers more memorable moments than probably any other class
Yeah.
because outside of one archetype, which we may or may not get to, you can't inspire yourself as a bard.
That is
Only
correct.
one of them can do that. So otherwise, you are boosting your allies,
Hmm.
and it makes you such a team player that I don't understand anybody who craps on the bard as a class. If you're saying, oh well, they're always talking, they're doing the seduce and the whatever, if they're the stereotypical bard, whatever, man. When you're in combat, they are saving your bacon, they are boosting you, they are casting control spells, and they've even got a little bit of healing in there. If you're a bard,
Yeah.
hey, for one of your level 1 spells, take that healing word.
Oh yeah.
Be that
Absolutely.
character that can just that someone they're on 2 death saves, boom, healing word. That was your bonus action. They're back up, and you're good to go.
See,
So
and that you made me think of one of my other I like not quite meta things about the bard that I like,
yeah,
but it is kind of a meta thing, is that even if you as a person aren't a great storyteller. Like, I mean, we're lucky that we're actors, so that helps a bit for staying in character in
A
D&D,
little bit,
just a tiny bit,
a little bit.
you know. But even if you're not like a great storyteller, and for some reason my movie just unpaused on its own, so that's cool.
What you watching?
Uh, a stand-up comedy special. Kamau Bell, super great. Love
Nice.
him. He's smart. He's hilarious. He's just great. Plus
He's
I
a
just
performer, so he fits in with the
with
bards.
Bards, yeah. But what I was saying is that the one of the cool like meta things that even if you're not a good storyteller as a person,
Hmm?
the abilities that fifth edition has for bards, they make you part of telling an epic story and
Yeah,
like doing the epic things, even if you're not good at coming up with like good story things. Because like
and
with what you were saying, the jack of all trades,
yeah,
you can just kind of do everything. So
yes,
in almost all of those, like, oh no, we need this to happen or we're going to die situations, the bard can pull up super clutch with like a good skill check or with an inspiration for someone else for a skill check. Like it's
exactly.
really it's huge and it makes you like the catalyst of the story that not only you're writing but also you as a bard could tell later.
So I'm dying to know, as far as the archetypes,
Yeah.
what is your favorite? Like at the top of the tier, this is where you're likely to go.
Okay, so my tippity top favorite for
Yep,
bards, uh, it's not necessarily the best bard, but it
sure.
is my personal favorite.
I'm
And
listening.
the bard, it's the College of Eloquence.
Oh
I love it
yes.
so much, and it's less from the features as like they are on the page,
Mhm.
because like yeah, unfailing inspiration is dope,
It
universal
is.
speech is dope,
Yep.
infectious inspiration is dope,
That's
but
an amazing ability.
it's also just the fun of because the actor,
Mhm.
uh the College of Eloquence, your performance is literally telling stories.
Well,
Like
and
it's your and it's speech.
yeah,
And that's
and
and
I think
yeah.
you're the bardiest bard to ever bard. Like it takes
Yeah.
everything that's good about being a bard and it just turns it up to 11. Like the fact that you get basically the rogue's reliable talent type ability
Mhm.
on your social interaction checks at level 3. Like
Mhm.
you're going to be using that all game. If there is any amount of role play in your game, if you're going to be that College of Eloquence, you're your party's face.
Yeah.
Like what fun for that player. You get
And
to be really good at something.
yeah, and it's great because your your whole performance life before being an adventurer
Mhm.
is being an orator, which you can take so many different ways. You could be
Yeah, you
a
can.
stand-up comedian like Kamau.
Yep.
You could be a stand-up comedian. A you could be just a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
You could be like straight up an actor. You can flavor it all these different ways, and it's so different from your usual bard that is some kind of music.
Well, and I would even say if you wanted to incorporate it into like the musical stylings, like the more musicianship
Oh,
type, you could really like lean into the idea of being a wordsmith, similar to like a hip hop artist.
yeah, like
Like
you could
if
straight up go the route of like Talib Kweli and High Tech, where
exactly.
their rap is like more cerebral and actually and like really says something.
Yeah, like
And
I don't
boom,
know. Like when we talked about our bard colleges as music, that was one of the things we talked about was the College of Eloquence. Like that is hip hop. Like so
hmm
much of that is about the language and what's being said, and just the reinvention or repurposing or invention of words and phrases themselves. I mean, it's musical poetry, and I'm with you. Like
yeah,
College of Eloquence is that to a T.
and that's really why it's my tippity top favorite of the
Sure.
archetypes, is just because like simply it it breaks, and you'll notice this as we go through the classes, that most of my favorite things in classes are ways that you can break the like normal interpretation of it, because like usually D&D bard, you think a dude with a lute,
Sure.
but like for College of Eloquence, you could come out and be an orator.
Mhm.
Like you could come out and just
A
give
playwright.
speeches.
So you can be a playwright.
Yeah.
They they did call Shakespeare the Bard after all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you pen sonnets. Your name is Wilhelm Rattlepike.
That's it. We're ending this episode early because of that.
I'll have you know I have a character sheet for a bard named Wilhelm Rattlepike.
I mean, which actor doesn't?
Yeah, you should. If you don't, you should. Come on.
But that's why for me, like College of Eloquence is definitely like my top choice for bards. Uh,
Which it's a great choice.
and also like just like getting into the numbers wise for College of Eloquence,
Mhm.
like once you get up to those higher levels, that infectious inspiration is
No
because
kidding.
that's it's just your regular inspire,
Yep.
but now at level 14 you inspire someone and also someone nearby with one use of your inspire, and that's
Yeah, and all it costs you is your reaction to do that,
mm-hmm.
which I mean, odds are, like, you know, the combats where you have to make sure you hang on to your reaction, and ones where you're going, I'm not even going to use this that much. Let's kick that
Right.
inspiration over there for the same use. That's big
Yeah, like
because at that
oh,
level, you're rolling. Honestly, you're rolling a D10 for your inspiration by the time you're level
I
14.
believe so.
Yeah, you're kicking around a
Look,
D10 for that. That's a big swing on abilities. I'm with you. I love the College of Eloquence for that.
is that also your favorite
No,
subclass, or oh,
I,
okay,
I I went back and forth with two archetypes. And College of Eloquence was one of them. But for my
okay,
favorite one, I went back to the player's handbook.
oh,
That's right.
absolutely,
The initial classes, and I went College of Lore. College of Lore. Every time I look at bards, I keep looking at that one, going, if I were to play a bard, which would I do? And part of what I look at with classes is I look at levels 5 to 10.
okay,
What do I have by the time I reach level 5? And what will I have by the time I reach level 10? Because most adventures, that's kind of the sweet spot in it. I don't care what class you're playing, level 5 is a milestone.
yep,
Like level 3 spells or extra attack if you're a martial class. And the College of Lore gets a couple things that I absolutely love. And the first one is cutting words.
yeah,
What an amazing use of your reaction. Being able to, like, sometimes straight up being able to just reduce damage. Like that alone can save you. Um, it's a little thing. I love it. Plus, it goes right in line with one of a bard's other, I won't say signature abilities because you have to select it. But if you're a
yeah,
bard and you didn't select vicious mockery as one of your cantrips, I'm not saying you're barding wrong. I'm just saying I would never do it because it's just such a perfect cantrip for bards, and also
yeah,
it's a really good spell. But vicious mockery and cutting words just go hand in hand. And then the fact that your level 14 ability, you get the chance to finally inspire yourself. That's also really big. But what sells the College of Lore to me more than anything else, bards are wonderful because at 3 times as you level up, you get to select 2 spells from any spell list you want with magical secrets because you know all this stuff. But if you're a lore bard, you get to do it at level 6. You get to do it one more time than anyone else. And that is just such a great ability for multiple reasons. Like, I mean, a lot of people at that level, they're probably looking at things like Counterspell and Fireball, or Counterspell and Revivify. Those just quintessential third level spells that almost every adventuring party wants to have somewhere in their makeup.
right,
But by the time you've hit level 6, I kind of feel like if you start at level 1 or 2, you sort of know how your party is going to operate and you know what is going to be the most useful there. So maybe for one of your 2 level 6 magical secrets, maybe you go, you know what? I'm going to take the Eldritch Blast cantrip. So I have a reliable way of ranged damage. Why
that's
not?
I love it.
Hey,
It's
or
it
perhaps,
just seems so like out of left field in my
yeah,
from to my brain, and I love that.
Yeah, well, another fun thing, like 'cause a lot of people don't look at the cantrips with it. You can take cantrips.
Yeah.
Maybe you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I have a decent dexterity. I get up in the mix sometimes. I'm going to take Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade just so I have that emergency ability. Um, Maybe you go, I'm going to take Misty Step so I can get the F out of combat if I have to. There's so many different things you can take with that spell to complement the counter spell that you're probably going to take. If you're me, you're taking counter spell because I love counter spell, and a party
You
without counter
love
spell.
Counterspell too much. You
I love counter
monster.
spells at DM. I
You
love counter spells.
absolute monster.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you really want to just make your players look at you like you kicked their puppy, just counterspell their healing word. Just do it. Just do it, and they'll
So
look at you
rude.
with horror. It's so good.
It's so rude.
But yeah, I love the College of Lore so much because everything it does amplifies something about being a bard, and not in the exact same way as like the College of Eloquence, but
Hmm.
I look at those two as very similar ones.
They
Um,
are.
I know a lot of people will look at someone who wants to play College of Lore, and you'll get some power gamer accusations. Sue me. I optimize when I build. I'll fully admit it. Like I'm going to optimize because I want my character to be good at stuff because that's fun to me. But I'm certainly if I'm in an adventuring party where we have a wizard, one of my spells is not going to be Fireball, especially if my wizard took Fireball at level 3. I'm not looking to step on their toes with that.
Hmm.
I'm going to look at what
Yeah.
other spell besides counterspell, because I don't think you can have enough of that, is going to be the most useful. And
Yeah.
maybe we don't have a rogue in the party, so I go, sweet. For one of my magical secrets, at some point, I'll take knock.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe I'll take the
Or
ranger's path.
or maybe like you don't have a rogue. Maybe
Yeah,
you grab Pass Without a Trace.
exactly. You can look at some of those and go, this is what would be a great utility for this party. Because as a bard, you really are that utility player. Um, Outside of some of your magical secret spells you can take, you're never going to be dishing out massive damage in battle. It's not your job.
I mean,
But
College of Swords and College of Valor can kind of get into doing that,
a bit,
but not a whole lot.
no, like
It
maybe when
it's
you
not going to
hit
be a
like
crit Paladin Smite.
exactly like maybe when you hit one of those higher levels as a bard, you might go, you know what? I'm taking disintegration because I can.
Yeah.
Maybe when you hit that 18th level magical secrets, you go, no, I'm not taking wish. F it, meteor swarm. Let's do this. Like you just might because you want
That'd
to
be
do
so
some.
funny.
Wouldn't it though? Wouldn't it be great? Just be like, all right, I'm casting my 9th level spell. What are you casting? Meteor swarm. At it. Just wipe out all these minions. But yeah,
just have just have a DM with the cockiest villain ever. Like, it's only you left, Bard. What can you do?
power word kill.
Integrate.
That's what I do. Power word kill. Also, is
just,
power word go after yourself.
just the murder Bard.
Yeah. But
You're really funny.
yeah, I like that you get that magical secrets at level 6 with the lore bard. It appeals to me so much just because I think of the amount of choices you can make there. And granted, depending on the type of game, maybe I'm actually not always going to take counterspell there. I probably am, but the other spell, I get to pick anything off of any spell list of 3rd level or lower at that point. And there are a lot of amazing 3rd level spells. And I think any class where you select your spells, like, bard or sorcerer, as opposed to, say, cleric or druid who prepares off their full list, or
Mhm.
wizard who prepares out of their spell book, there is a certain amount of choosing very carefully when you pick
Yes.
your spells. Well, this lets you choose something off of a different list where you go, okay, I know I'm going to want this spell no matter what. So then as you level up, you can
Yeah.
trade out some of those other bard spells that you
And it lets
do.
you it lets you choose a little less carefully.
Yeah,
Like,
like
yes,
you
it
can
is
go
one
like,
of
this will
your
be fun.
like it's one of your subclass's major features, but you can still, like, a person like me would 100% use it to grab an extra spell just to confuse a member of their own party.
Why not? Why not get
Like,
something worthwhile?
yeah, like with our game, if I was playing a bard instead, like I've already, as an artificer, messed around with Magic Mouth a bit.
Sure have.
But like I would grab, with a magical secret, I would grab a spell like Magic Mouth, and just start to make weird things. Like
Because why not?
I would take, whatever spell the sorcerer is using most,
Hmm?
and just also do it alongside them one time for funsies.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, heck, you know what you might even do with that magical secrets? Maybe you take something that's like a first level wizard utility spell and you just take something like identify,
yeah,
a spell that is so useful that if you don't have anybody in your party with identify, all your DM has to do is throw a couple cursed items in the game
hmm,
and just watch what they do. And that's one thing. Go anybody who's watched sees campaign 1 of Critical Role, like Craven Edge. You look at what that did, and then after it was finally sealed away and destroyed, and Mercer gave them the full sheet on it. He even said he's like, yeah, that's what happens when you don't have identify.
yep.
Like
And that is the
that's
moment that Liam decided in campaign 2 to play a wizard.
sure is. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm playing a wizard in Icewind Dale. The very first spell I took was identify.
Yep.
Very first
Uh,
spell.
'Cause
Cast it as a ritual.
you play long enough, and you eventually have a horror story of needing a wizard with identify.
Yeah, identify is a very valuable spell. So yeah, like I think that's the biggest reason I like the lore bard. It has so many uses, and it's just fun. So yeah, that's oh, and plus also, hey, you get some extra proficiencies at level
Yes.
3 because hey, why not be good at literally everything? Like the only thing that's going to make you like even more absurd is if you play a lore bard and you decide to take one level multi-class and rogue just to get more proficiencies, but then you're the ultimate skill monkey for your party, and there's nothing wrong with being the skill monkey. Like
Yeah.
if you
Like
if
sometimes
ever
you just do all the things.
yeah, and okay, you're not gonna like if you're because if you were a bard playing alongside a wizard, a cleric, and a barbarian, you don't have any real skill monkey class, but you've got a healer, you've got a powerful mage, and you've got a tank. Okay, you're the support, you're the control,
You are
and
everything else.
you've got all the skills.
And so,
That's an incredibly balanced party, and your all three of your other party members will love you.
oh, absolutely. Now we've talked a lot about things that we love about bards.
Yeah, I want to hear
Let's
what you
get
don't love.
into like the base, before we talk about subclasses. Just the
Yep.
base as a class, things that we kind of dislike about the bard class. Cuz there are a few for me.
I'd love to hear it. I don't know if I have any.
See, for me, the thing that I dislike about the base bard class is that while you have all of the options for skill proficiencies to kind of be the
Sure.
jack of all trades, the one trade that you have to really like specifically build for or pick your character's race for or pick your subclass for is that if you want to use unconventional weapons or just other weapons,
Sure.
it's really limiting in that way. And I totally understand why, because like you're spending your time learning, your kind of performance rather than learning how to fight. But for that,
You're driven off your charisma. Like that is the stat you
yeah.
care about most. And if there's a second one, it's gonna be your constitution because you're gonna have to make concentration checks at
See,
some point.
for me it's Dex because I don't want to get hit, and I can't wear big armor as a bard.
I mean, here's the thing though, you're probably gonna get hit.
But I
So that's why
can
the hit
try to
points.
dodge.
You have the hit points for when you do get hit,
I'd rather
and to make
dodge.
your concentration checks.
I'd rather dodge. But like, yeah, that's
Jordan thinks Constitution's a dump stat,
I do
folks.
not think Constitution's a dump stat. I just don't think it's as important as you do.
That's fair. That's fair.
I fully put Constitution like right in the middle ground of stats. Like middle to low. You put it high to middle to high.
Constitution is at worst the third most important stat for me for almost any build I play. No, I
Uh,
lied. For every build I play, at
nope,
worst, third most important.
nope. Sometimes you just have to hope you don't get hit.
Right? Who needs hit points? Who needs those?
Sometimes you just hope you don't get hit. That's all. Uh
Okay.
but yeah, it's just a thing with bards for me is that if you're really trying to be that like I can do a little of everything, when it gets to just wielding cool weapons in combat, that's the one kind of good at everything that you're not gonna do unless you specialize for it.
I think for me, if I'm going to say an area I don't love, and it does kind of piggyback on, as we're talking and thinking about it, it piggybacks a little on your whole being good at everything piece of it, because this is where, granted, you can't be good at everything no matter what you play unless you roll for stats and you roll stupid high stats, which is why I don't believe in rolling for stats, because if you're playing a long form campaign, you get somebody who's got nothing lower than a 14, and then you get somebody with 3 8s. It's not a
Yeah.
balanced party, and after a while it becomes not fun. Personal opinion. Play your game how you want to. As long as everyone at the table has fun, you're playing it the right way. It's literally all that matters. But it's the Sophie's choice of intelligence versus wisdom as a bard. And for flavor, I have no problem. It's like, well, intelligence would mean you've probably had lessons, you've been taught, you probably went to some sort of music school,
You
whereas
understand
wisdom
music
is,
theory.
yeah, whereas wisdom is a little more self-taught.
Hmm.
However, there are so many good skills under both intelligence and wisdom that I both think are so good for a bard to have. I have a hard time with the differentiating of which should be higher. And honestly,
I
if
mean,
if
if
I'm
you
playing,
you know what fixes that
what's that?
is not focusing Constitution as much.
That's crazy talk. That doesn't work. If my constitution is lower than a 14, I don't know why I'm playing this character.
Hide behind the tank.
Yeah, well, hide long ways away. But no, I mean,
Also, yes.
truth be told, I can see potentially giving up some con to have that higher intelligence and wisdom, but those hit points add up as you level up.
Forget it. 8 con Tortle Bard. Let's do it.
Died at level 2.
Absolutely not.
You would start with 7 hit points.
Cracked into your shell, baby.
7 hit points.
Retract into your shell, baby.
My level 1 wizard has more than that.
That's because you put con on everything.
14. I have a 16 intelligence. I have a 14 con. I have a 14 wisdom. My dex, I think, is a 10.
Dodge.
I'm not gonna take the dodge action. I'm busy casting spells.
No, I mean, like, learn to. It's dodge for AC. Ah, that scares me so much.
You could dodge a wrench. You could dodge a ball.
That wizard can't dodge either.
No, that wizard can't dodge. That's why his job is to stay far away and let the barbarian take care of it.
That's why you have Constitution, because you don't put anything in Dex.
I got mage armor. And I got shield. That's plus 8 AC right there. I'm fine.
Those are both spell slots, though.
I mean, wizard, gotta cast spells sometime.
Yeah.
But we're talking about bards. So
Bards,
what
you
archetype
also need Dex.
or constitution? But yeah, I want to know what archetype you are not so big on.
So the subclass that I'm not big on, and there's a big caveat for this one on why I don't like it too much, and it's simply because the people that I play with and the campaigns that I play in, it's not going to be fun or useful.
Sure.
But like, if you have a DM that also plays a lot of Shadowrun,
Okay.
this will probably be the Bard subclass for you playing with this DM. But
Sure.
I don't, ugh, I don't like the College of Whispers.
I can see that.
Yeah, and it's really just because like the College of Whispers, unless you have a DM that's more into the like subterfuge and planning and sneaky
Sure.
boyness, like you're just not gonna use a lot of your fun stuff. And
No, I mean
that's really
that's
why
fair. Like play a
it
rogue.
it's lower for me, is just because it's situational.
Well, and I can see that because not a lot of the abilities for it really stand out as going, oh man, I can't wait to use that. Here are all the ways I can utilize that. It feels very situational.
Yeah. And that's the thing for me that really takes me out of liking a particular subclass a lot, is when there's just not too many times where you can use it. Like
Sure.
if you're gonna spend your character's like effort and decisions into specializing into something, you should be able to use it.
Right. I don't care what archetype it is. There is probably a campaign setting where it can really sing, no pun
Absolutely.
intended, which is weird considering me. But
Yeah, right?
I know, like that. No, that pun was not intended. You'll know when I'm doing puns. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel you there on the College of Whispers, where it's like in the right setting, oh, is it
Yeah.
great? But in most campaign settings, you won't get a lot of use out of it.
No. And like if you have a heavy armor fighter in your party at all, it's probably going to take away from you doing a lot of the things that you would do as a whispers, which
Sure,
is unfortunate because some of like when they can happen, the abilities are really cool,
right, but
but
they're so situational.
yeah, like unless your DM is very smart and loves puzzles and loves the sneakiness of
Right,
campaign, you're just not going to do a lot of your stuff that often, which is
and
unfortunate.
yeah, and honestly, I think in the case of that one, I think if somebody was going to be playing that, I think there are multiple rogue archetypes. They would actually have a much more fun time playing. Anywhere from the arcane trickster to even possibly like the soul knife.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna get a lot more mileage out of that as a player than you will of the College of Whispers. No,
Yeah.
I agree. I did look at the College of Whispers as one of my least favorites.
And it's just because it's one of those like that would be cool. That's never going to happen.
Exactly. Like, and I think anytime you look at a subclass when you're thinking about taking it, look at the abilities, particularly the third level abilities, because you're going to use those more than any other. Don't look at a class that has this amazing 20th level ability or 18th level ability, depending on what you're playing, because you're probably never even going to get there.
Yeah.
And if you play a campaign that somehow gets there, you'll get to play for it for maybe a month or two at most. Whereas you've been living with these other abilities for so long that if they drag down the class overall, then that's not a lot of fun.
Exactly. And the other thing with the College of Whispers and why it ranks so low for me
Mhm.
is because a lot of DMs forget they forget to describe, because it's a thing that you don't really think about. They forget to describe how much light there is in a room until a
Sure.
player asks. And like
And then they make
the
it up.
yeah, and like the Mantle of Whispers, you need some darkness.
Yes.
Like, and I mean you don't really like need darkness, but like you kind of do.
Can I have some? A little
Yeah.
bit. A little bit.
And so it's just one of those things that I don't like how little you're going to do your fun things.
No, I'm with you. It falls short.
What about you?
Mine is quick and easy for which one I can't stand. And it's for two reasons. One, there's another subclass that does what this one tries to do better.
Okay.
And so I feel this subclass actively detracts from your bardic abilities.
Okay.
only subclass of bards that I actually feel like detracts, and that is the College of Swords. Why do you exist? Go home, rethink your life, and just play a fighter. I hate the College of Swords because people will look at that level 6 ability and they go, "Oh, I get extra attack." I'm like, "Oh, sick." So does the College of Valor, and it's better. Like
Yeah.
when you're spending your Bardic Inspiration die to potentially get an AC increase, if you roll a 1 on that, when you only have a D6 for it, which is a possibility, or if you roll a 2, great. You increased what is probably a fairly meager AC at low levels. Sure, you can wear medium armor and you have a shield now and all that stuff. I get it. But you've increased it by so little at the expense of a bardic inspiration die. Whereas conversely, you could have inspired one of your allies. They can hold on to it until they decide they want to use it. You have that battle where it's an established, you now know what the enemy's AC is, and they miss it by 1. I'm using the
Inspiration,
Bardic
baby.
Inspiration die. But yeah, like so many of the abilities, you use it just to boost yourself and your own combat prowess. And it doesn't feel like a bard to me at all.
Yeah. And you know what's a better way to increase your AC?
Wearing better armor or having a higher dex.
Having Dex.
Yeah, I mean, again, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love the College of Valor. I love having that ability for the medium armor and the shield and getting extra attack at level 6. But I really feel like the College of Valor actually has abilities where you're able to heighten your allies. And then conversely, if you need to mix it up in combat, you can. College of Swords is so focused around what you're doing in combat with your attack action. Like the fact that you get a fighting style in that
Yeah.
one, that to me right there says, okay, most of my actions in combat are going to be using my weapon. And your choices are dueling or 2-weapon fighting, both of which are about increasing your damage output with your weapon. And the reason I have a problem with that is as a bard, I'm sorry, you're a fucking spellcaster. You get spells up to level 9. And this isn't me telling somebody how to run their character, but if I'm in a party with a bard that's always running up to stuff and swinging their damn sword at it, when I know they could just cast a 5th level whatever and turn the tide of this battle, why are you poking this thing with your meager ass weapon when you could be like, or even shoot, you could be at 5th level, throw down a hypnotic pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, that can change an entire battle all by itself, as opposed to, okay, the bard's over here dealing with this minion because you're already dumping your highest stat into charisma. Or if you're not, I mean, hey, you do you. But if I'm playing a spellcaster, whatever my spellcasting stat is, that is my highest stat. I want my saving throw to be as high as possible. I want my spellcasting mod to be as high as possible because I have spells. So now, how many stats am I going to put into strength or dex to increase my combat ability? And so now I'm worried about how many stats to put to play a bard.
Yeah.
It feels like it gets messy and it gets lost in translation. And I really think if you want to be that class that has weapons, but you want to cast spells too, I'm going to introduce you to my friend, the Eldritch Knight.
Yep.
And you'll be, in my mind, so much happier. If you look at the College of Valor and you go, it's just not enough combat for me, that's when I take out the Eldritch Knight or the Paladin
Yeah.
and I set them in front of you and go, I want you to look at these because I think you'll be
And
happy.
with College of Swords and College of Valor, both, since they're basically the same negatives.
Play a
Uh
fighter or play a rogue.
like the the thing that the thing that would make those cool is if they had the if they had like the what's the word I'm looking for? The panache stuff from
Sure.
3.5 and Pathfinder Swashbuckler. Because
Yeah.
that's what this is basically trying to be.
Yeah. It's, like, it's funny. Both the ones we don't like came
Yeah,
out of this one. And
Xanathar's.
I love Xanathars. Like as a supplemental, I think after the
Oh
player's
yeah.
handbook, as much as I love Tasha's, I would tell people to get Xanathars first
Oh yeah.
because so many of the subclasses in Xanathars are so good. And Xanathars gave us 3 new bards, and 2
And
of them
two of them,
suck.
yeah,
I,
two of them are just
College of Glamour is great. College of Glamour is awesome. It's unique. It's fun. But man, if you're a bard or you want to play a bard and you go, oh, Player's Handbook doesn't quite do it for me, get Tasha's. Just get Tasha's because I'll put the College of Creation above
College of
either
Creation's super cool.
swords or yeah, it's fun. That one's very different with your whole moat of creativity, being able to create objects with it. Like it's a very unique take on the bard.
Yeah.
But I just feel like in the case of both whispers and swords, like you
But
said,
yeah.
the place they fall short is they're trying to be something they're not. What they're trying to be is a different class
Yeah.
entirely.
And there's and I do think that there's a great space for that in subclasses,
Sure.
but if you're going to play a subclass that's kind of trying to be another class, your subclass has to do it well.
Yeah. And,
And
and those two don't do it
Swords
well.
and Valor, they don't. Like
No,
Swords
because
and
like
Valor don't. Whispers does if you're in an intrigue heavy campaign, but other than that, nah.
but even then, if you are in that intrigue heavy campaign, I would challenge you to look at all the rogue archetypes and tell me honestly, you couldn't find one that does what you're trying to do better. Because and I mean as a player, not just in general. Because if you're saying, well, no, I like the idea of this entertainer and whatnot, I'm like, man, the assassin gets a cool ability where you can create fake identities. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
your fake identity is this entertainer thing. And yeah,
Yeah.
like and the thing is about both swords and whispers, I think what really just irks me about both is I want to like them.
Yeah, because
I
they're
look at
the
the
concept is so cool.
yeah, I look at the initial descriptions of both, and I'm like, I want to like this, but
Like if I
it
just
falls short.
if we were picking just off of like character concept alone rather than function, oh, character concept, give me College of Swords all day.
Well, I won't go that far, only because in the description of College of Swords, there's one thing that really bothers me, and it
Mm-hmm.
talks about how individuals in this lifestyle have basically given up barding, and that to
That's
me is
fair.
kind of saying, like, you're no longer a bard. So if you want the spells, man, okay, be a charisma based spellcaster, play a sorcerer, have a much better time. You don't care about the spells, play a fighter or a rogue and have a
Yeah.
much better time. I just I don't think there's going to be hardly anyone. I'm sure there are a handful of people out there, because everybody likes different things, but I don't think there are going to be a whole lot of players that are going to really enjoy the College of Swords over some other opportunities.
Yeah.
And a large amount of what my favorite and least favorite, like honestly, what goes into it is how appealing I think some of this might be to a new player. Because I always want to think about when I look at a subclass, if I gave this to someone who had never played D&D before and they decided for their first time they wanted to be a bard, how exciting or disappointing are they going to find this subclass? And I think both whispers and swords, I think they're going to hate it. But then conversely, I think eloquence and lore, they're going to love it. They're going to
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh man, this is so great. And I'm with you. The role play potential for any type of bard is high.
Oh yeah.
And I don't normally get this like heated talking about subclasses I don't like. But I think it's because the role play potential is so high with these, is why it makes me so mad that
It's
they
because
just suck mechanically.
it's so frustrating that they're not good because
I know.
you just want
Okay,
it to be
oh,
good so bad.
exactly. Like the idea of this, musician who like deep down is this massive, mighty, badass warrior who's gonna cleft ye in twain with their sword. I I think the College of Swords, honestly, should have had like this complete separate table for it, similar to like the Eldritch Knight or the Arcane Trickster, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh hey, by the way, that really cool table where your spells go all the way up to level 9, you don't get that. Your spells are minimized because you focus on your weaponry. Same thing
And then
with
you get cooler things with your weaponry.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
same thing with like College of Whispers is I would have liked it if you had seen like a not full sneak attack, 'cause you're not a rogue,
Yeah,
but
but
like a
like
modification where you got some similar like roguey type stuff.
well, yeah, like
Because
in Pathfinder First Edition, how they had you could just straight up take a feat to get
yeah,
sneak attacking, but it
exactly.
was like 1/4 of the usual sneak attack strength.
And I would love that. Like
Yeah,
if I were allowed to change the College of Whispers a bit, I'd go okay. Your sneak attack die would increase every 3 levels instead of every 2 levels, and it would be a D4 instead of a D6,
yeah,
and you would have a reduced and modified spell structure, not quite as minimized as say the Arcane Trickster, but I
yeah,
would use sort of a reverse Arcane Trickster as my build on that, so you still get the bardic inspiration, you still get some stuff, but now you have this modified type sneak attack. And then also for that College of Swords, you would never get 4 attacks like a fighter gets, but maybe at say level 14 you get a third attack,
yeah.
or maybe I would add something
I'd
where
add in Battlemaster maneuvers.
sure. I
Yeah,
mean, and honestly, I think you hit the nail right on the head. It didn't occur to me until you said it. If you played a College of Valor Bard and then you took the feat that allows you to take some Battlemaster maneuvers,
mm-hmm,
you are going to have a better time than anyone playing College of Swords.
absolutely.
Like
Because
you're going to have so much of a better time. You will
if
be useful in combat.
mm-hmm.
You will have the spells, and you won't be wasting your inspiration on your own stupid attacks.
And if you're going to fight, why not grab some fight spells? Because that's really
Yeah,
all that battle maneuvers are. They're
they
just
are
fight spells.
100%. And I think you nailed it right on the head. There are better ways to do this.
Yeah.
So I think the
I cast
designers.
sword.
I mean, it's a you know what, it's a great spell. It's not as great as Great Axe. That's the best
No,
spell.
it's definitely not as great as Great Axe. Why
But
is
but
this
what,
turned on again?
because it loves you, because it loves you. And
Kamau
it's a
Bell just
bar.
wants to talk to the people.
It's a performer that wants to perform. But yeah, I mean, I think like the passion for both of these, it really shows. Like the highs and the lows of this class are really amazing and really just play something else. Like there
Yeah.
there there aren't many archetypes where I would say, oh, play something else, you'll have more fun. But if somebody said, oh, it's my first time playing D&D and I'm playing a bard, and if they told me they were going to take either lore or eloquence, I would just be saying you are in for such a
Or it's just
great.
such a fun ride.
And as much as I love College of Lore, I would honestly argue that your choice of College of Eloquence is probably the best choice for
It's
someone's a first time bard,
yeah.
because if nothing else, that level 3 ability where, oh, on your deception or persuasion checks, if you roll less than a 10, it's a 10.
Although for a first time player playing a bard, uh I I would try to push them to College of Glamour just because first time players always make really interesting roleplay choices anyway.
You're not
So
wrong.
then
You're
giving
not
them College of Glamour stuff, it's just gonna be funny.
Well, and the thing is too, you talk about College of Glamour, Mantle of Inspiration
Yeah.
is truly a combat changing ability. Using one of your bardic inspirations to give your allies temporary hit points, and they can move up to their movement using their reaction. It's huge because now, and also it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, which
Can really you can really help your fighter make a dumb mistake.
as a DM who has a player that is playing a College of Glamour Bard, they're awesome. And you really learn to respect that Mantle of Inspiration ability,
Yeah.
because I'll have an encounter where I've got my minions in there. Okay, cool. I've got my players pinned down. I know this is going to be a dire situation. And one Mantle of Inspiration later, they've all repositioned, have now fortified themselves, and I'm rethinking my tactics. But it's a DM to me. That's rewarding. And I'll tell you
Oh yeah.
this: every player is just looking at that bard going, "Thank you, thank you, that helped."
Also, if you have that bard in your party, are the fighter, nothing surprises your DM more than using that mantle of inspiration to run toward the enemy that just hit you real hard. Um,
Precisely.
it's very confusing for your DM, and it's real fun to do.
It is. Well, and the thing too, like, but it's
Your
also a
fighter
great
might
tactic.
die.
I mean, the fighter might die, but you've now gotten past all the minions to get right up in the face of whatever the
Yeah,
big threat is to try and put some real hurt on them.
and it's just
But
and that's really the thing that gets me for bards, like in general. The thing that gets me for bards is just how fun and different they are.
yeah,
Where like
like,
there's a lot of the other classes that even like their base stuff is still kind of the same as someone else.
sure.
Bard is really that one that stands alone, kind of like Druid.
Yeah, yeah. Bards
Like
and druids are very
Bard and
unique
Druid
and some
both,
of the
they
stuff.
really like stand alone, and I really like that. Just because I like things that can be different and can really be shaped into whatever you need narratively.
Oh, like without question. But so yeah, if you wanted to hear people, rag on two bard subclasses about why they should have never been made, and just not stop praising two other ones, um,
Came to the
uh,
right show.
yeah, we're here for you. We're absolutely here for you. But no, I truly believe that fifth edition is a love letter to bards. I have said that
Yeah,
ever since I first looked at the player's handbook and I saw the bardic abilities. I went, oh wow, this is to make up for all the years that bards sucked because
all the
they're
years of hide behind the pile of dead bards.
yeah. I mean that's all it was. And now if you're playing a bard, you're a very capable class. And even if you like, even if you don't take a whole lot of really
I think. Oh boy. Yep. Yep. That means my internet just cut out. Apologize, everyone. Yeah.
shiny spells, you're gonna have a great time with just the bard spells available.
Bjorn. My internet died like
Yeah.
right at the beginning of all of that. So
Oh
just
no.
want to say that over again for the people.
Oh, I was just saying that as a bard, you're gonna have just the greatest time um, with the bard spells available, with your magical secrets, even if you're taking some of those quintessential cleric or wizard spells, even if you don't use those that much, the spells that are available just on the bard list and the level of control you can do, trust me, again, as a DM who has a bard as one of their players, you can ruin your DM's day with just Bane and Hypnotic Pattern. It's all you need. You can take Bane at first level, you can take Hypnotic Pattern at fifth level, and let me tell you what, those two spells, they will truly come
Oh,
to hate you.
we've
And
we've messed with
they're
yours.
two great uses of your concentration. Oh,
We've
look at
messed
this.
with your stuff so well with those.
You do. But the thing is, that's what makes bards awesome.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say, if someone as a player, if they want to be just that raw output of just massive damage and violence and destruction
Oh,
in any
it's
way,
not going.
I'd be like, yeah, I'd say this is not the class for you.
Ain't
Like,
gonna be a bard. No.
no, I go, if you want to be a magic user, wizard, sorcerer, or warlock, any of those three has uses for you. And if you want it to be with your weapon, then it'd be like a barbarian or paladin is going to suit you so much better. Do not pick the bard because you want to do lots of damage. That's not your job. But if you
But
want to
bardses
single,
are funses.
oh man, uh, I don't know many classes that can single-handedly change the entire course of a battle like a bard. The closest would be wizard.
Yep, absolutely.
All those
Uh,
control spells.
but yeah, so that's our all of our feelings on bards,
Yeah, it's
which
such a good
it's
class. I love bards.
it's always great. I was really excited to talk about bards with you because I know how much we both love the class, and like
Yeah.
for neither of us is it our top favorite class.
No, it's
but
not.
it's
Like
such a good class. It's
oh man,
fun.
it's one of my favorites, but everything about it I love. I love like
Yeah,
I mean like barbarian, yes, clearly my absolute favorite class, but I don't get as passionate about them as I do about bards because bards do so many things I love.
yeah, and
Barbarians
it's
kill things.
just so
That's
fun.
all they do. But bards, they're great in social interaction. They're great in combat. They're great in support. They're great in exploration. They can do everything. Jack of all trades, baby.
Yep. All right. Well, that's our episode for this week. I hope you
That's it.
enjoyed. Please, it, because we've definitely said a lot of this, like, I don't want to say divisive, but like very poignant things.
Yeah.
Disagree with us, please,
Please
in the chat.
tell me why
Disagree
you
with us in the chat.
love College of
Disagree with
Swords,
us
and I'll
on
tell you why
YouTube.
you're wrong.
Yeah. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. I'm excited to hear your stories about Valor and Sword and Whispers bards doing
Yeah,
cool things.
exactly.
Uh, but yeah, that's our show. Come back, join us next week. What are we
Yeah, we'll
talking about
talk
next
about
week, bud?
clerics.
Yeah,
Clerics.
Clerics is next week.
Be good.
Oh, them holy boys.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to read a lot because I don't know
yeah.
Clerics very well.
Oh, so many subclasses, all those
Uh,
domains.
well, so we'll talk about Clerics next week. Can't wait to see ya.
And
Bjorn, what do we always say?
do something nice for yourself this weekend.